Housing demand has crashed. In fact, according to the latest Redfin data that we're reviewing today, it looks like pending sales are now down 6% year over year. That's right. Now, pending sales demand in the housing market absolutely crashing, down 6% year over year. But at the same time, we've got active homes for sale are actually falling as well. Check this out. Active listings now up only 4% year over year. And what's worse is that new listings of homes for sale now only up 3%. I'm sorry, they're down 3%. Should have said that, down 3% year over year. So you've got fewer buyers out there. Demand has absolutely crashed. You have fewer people putting their homes on the market, and then you've got sellers that are throwing in the towel. And so when you think about home prices, where are they at? Well, 14 of the top 50 U.S. metros are actually down year over year in home prices. So, for example, if I look at Denver, Colorado, the Denver area, you can see prices down 3% year over year. You want another one? I've got another one here. Phoenix, the Phoenix market down 3% year over year. But the housing market is not crashing by any means as far as prices go in most areas. And not all areas actually have fallen home prices. Look at this. If you take a look at an area like Cleveland, Ohio, Cleveland, believe land. Well, they believe in higher home prices because prices are up 4.6% year over year in Cleveland. And then if I look at an area like Chicago, prices are up there 3.8%, nearly 4%. Yeah, so this is continues to be a very, very strange housing market. And so prices aren't falling everywhere, but the trend is definitely real. There's no doubt the trend is real, and it's not uniform. So today on The Housing Nerd, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Jason Ferrier. I am a realtor. I'm an investor in Central Ohio. I'm not here to hype the real estate market. I'm not here to tell you that prices always go up. I'm not your typical realtor. I'm also not going to tell you that now has never been a worse time to buy, or there's never been a worse time to buy than now. I'm not going to tell you to stay away from the housing market. I'm going to give you the real data so you can make a better decision. And so today we're reviewing all the latest housing market data. We've got stuff from Redfin. I've got information from Zillow. I've got new inventory data to share with you from Resi Club. So I've got it all. And if you have a market you want me to look at, drop it in the comments and I will get to it on today's live. And hit the like button if you come in, please. That's all I ask. Just hit the like button because it helps more people get involved in the live stream and helps the channel grow. And I know you want to help me, don't you? All right, let's get to some of this data. Let me say good morning to somebody checked in here. John Doe, you're always here. Hello, friends. How are you doing? Good to see you, John Doe. All right. I'm going to jump into some of this Redfin data. What we're going to do first is look at the article, the latest Redfin article, and then we're going to jump into the metros that you guys request. I also have some metros that were requested through the comments on some previous videos to get to, so we'll do that. One thing I did want to share with you, though, that I thought was pretty interesting was I just did a poll on my channel that would show what's happening in different markets. So if markets are going up or not. And I thought this was a pretty interesting article. Or I'm sorry, poll. So I did this poll. Be honest, based on what you see in your local market, ignore the news, where are we right now? And so 37% of you said a slow bleed. In other words, prices are slowly dropping. That's what 37% of y'all said that. 32% said it's flat or stagnant. Thought that was interesting. Then 20% said prices are still climbing. and 11% say full-blown crash. So if you go to my channel now in YouTube, you could see the poll, and you guys could definitely jump in and answer that question. Tell me what's happening in your market. If you can put in there where you live, that would help me a lot to really understand. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would agree with this. It seems like prices are stagnant or slowly going down. Some areas still climbing, and then you have, to a lesser extent, areas that are actually crashing. So that's it's really a completely split market. But let me now, I'm going to jump into the Redfin article to start us off here. Let me just adjust my screen. All right. So the name of this Redfin article is Pending Home Sales Fall 6%. That's the biggest drop in a year. Crazy, right? And again, we're going to do this national article. We'll look at some national data. Then we'll jump into the metros that you want me to review. So you got some time here as people join the live. Drop them in the comments. I'll go back through them and highlight them, and then I'll analyze your specific market on the live today. All right. They say house hunters are retreating amid high housing costs and a seasonal slowdown, leading to prospective sellers to pull back too. Yeah, we're seeing a drop in demand and listings. Not just demand, listings as well. U.S. pending home sales fell 6% from a year earlier during the 4 weeks ending December 14th. That's the biggest decline since the start of 2025. On a metro level, pending sales declined in all but 6 of the 50 most populous U.S. metro areas. Wow. With the biggest drops in San Jose, down 35%. Goodness gracious. Houston, down 21%. Oakland, down 18%. The typical U.S. home that does sell is taking 52 days longer to go into contract, about a week longer than last year. House hunters are hesitant this holiday season because mortgage rates are stubbornly sitting above 6% and home sale prices are rising, putting homes out of reach for many would-be buyers. Additionally, many prospective buyers are waiting for clear signals on the economy before they make any major purchases. Some are concerned about job security amid signals of the weak labor market. Another reason pending sales are declining year over year. Sales increased around this time last year after the uncertainty leading up to the 2024 presidential election had passed. Okay. Slow home buying demand is pushing would-be sellers to the sideline too. New listings are down 3% year over year. That's the biggest decline in more than 2 years. The total number of homes for sale is up just 4%. The smallest increase since the start of 2024. Many prospective sellers are reluctant to list their home while the market is tilting toward buyers, with some waiting until the new year to see if demand improves. Comment in this live stream. I want to know, do you think demand will come back into the housing market in 2026, or is it going to stay on the sidelines? And do you think sellers will come back into the housing market in 2026? That's really the more important question, right? Like, that's probably the biggest story of the year, as far as I'm concerned, in data when it comes to housing, not narrative wise, but data wise, is that you've got fewer sellers putting their homes on the market right now than you did last year. Remember when all the home sellers and homeowners were supposed to be in distress? I don't know. I guess the distress hasn't manifested itself, I suppose. Mortgage rates are buyers' biggest concern, no doubt. They want to make sure they're not paying too much every month. So, question for y'all. Do you think prices or rates are more important? Now, based on the polls that I've seen on my channel and just the comments I receive, I would think normally most of y'all think prices are more important. Maybe you're a more savvy crowd, but overall, I think consumers buy on payment. And you really can't convince me otherwise, because I look at the data and you see how buy now, pay later is through the roof, right? So buy now, pay later is a big problem. People will pay $1,000 a month for a car, no matter that they're paying $100,000 for a Chevy, right? They don't care. They just want a payment. I think that is their biggest problem. Maybe it shouldn't be, but it seems like it is. My advice to sellers, this is from a Redfin agent in Raleigh. My advice to sellers is to be careful considering the buyer's perspective. If a buyer is taking on a high monthly payment, they want the house to be near perfect and the sale price to be fair. Be open to negotiations around repairs and seller concessions, and be realistic about the asking price. It's better to sell a home quickly than let it linger on the market. I agree with that. Right now, it's a tough time to price a home. Like, you don't want to leave any money on the table, but at the same time, you don't want to let that thing sit. So in some cases, it's better to just be more aggressive with the price as a seller, meaning lower, so you sell it quicker than letting it sit on the market. All right, so that's their article. Now, they're going to go into the leading indicators. The leading indicators are basically like, what's happening with mortgage rates and general buying demand, that type of thing. So mortgage rates, we're looking at 6.27%. I checked it this morning and it hadn't moved, but we got CPI data earlier today. So I'm wondering if it has moved. Let's take a look and see. Yeah. Wow. It dropped a lot. Look at this. Look at that. Look at mortgage rates drop. Look at that. I mean, this just happened in maybe the last 30 minutes. Down 5 basis points to 6.22. That may be because the Fed is possibly, the market overall is more bullish on lower rates, perhaps, because CPI came in lower. A lot of that may have to do with housing prices actually softening and coming down in some areas or stabilizing. But yeah, rates are down this morning, no doubt. So they haven't really skyrocketed upwards like they normally do, or they have done over the past maybe, couple years when the Fed cuts. We've seen rates actually go up, mortgage rates. We didn't see it this time. Way different. I don't hear anybody talking about that divergence. But in any case, that's what I'm seeing on mortgage rates. Will they keep coming down? I don't know. Let's go back to this data, or the article rather. But I'd like to know from you, do you think rates will come down as we enter 2026 even more? Will they come underneath 5% or 6%? I don't know. No one has a crystal ball, obviously. All right, mortgage purchase applications. Down 3% from a week earlier, up 13% from last year. So many people ask me, hey, housing nerd, how are mortgage purchase applications up 13%? So seemingly there's more people in the market that want to buy, but pending sales are actually down. So there's fewer people actually going into contract on homes. But at the same time, you have mortgage purchase applications actually going up. Well, it could be a lot of these people aren't actually out looking for homes. They may just be applying so that they're ready to buy. It could be that, right? It could also be the fact that there are sellers that have applied for a mortgage and they're like, hey, it's time for me to sell my house and buy another one. Well, what happens if they don't sell their current house? They're not going to buy another one. So maybe it's the fact that sellers aren't moving their house as fast, or in some markets at all. And so then they're not going to buy. And so maybe that's why they're applying, but not actually coming through as a pending sale. That's just an idea. Google searches for homes for sale, down 9% from a month earlier. So fewer people looking for homes versus last month. And it's up 10% from last year. And touring activity is down 19% from the start of the year. At this time last year, it was down 22% from the start of the year. So I guess it's up 3% year over year, basically the same. Means that they're just about the same number of people looking for homes to buy, or looking at homes, right? Like out touring properties. All right, let's see. Let's do next is the highlights for the 400 largest metros. $387,725. That's the median sale price. That's up 1.7%. I mean, how many of y'all are shocked that the median sale price has not dropped below last year? We're not down at all this year in the median sale price nationally. That's national. Obviously, real estate's local, but I'm pretty surprised. It's just sticky. Prices are sticky. Median asking price, $378,000, up 2.3%. Median monthly mortgage payment, $2,412. That's at a rate of 6.22%. Oh, so they must have used the most recent rate. I guess maybe that was from earlier this week, I guess. Because it went up, now it's back down to 6.22. That's down 1.7%. That's the lowest level of 2025. There is a possible scenario in the housing market where you could, for 2026, where the story could be improved affordability through maybe lower mortgage rates and lower home prices. Like, even if home prices kind of stay flat, rates come down and wages go up, affordability will improve. Is that possible? Maybe. We could just be in store, folks, for a long grind, sideways, slightly up, slightly down, just kind of chugging along. Could be like that for all of 2026. Could be like that for all of 2027. Maybe that's what the housing market needs. Just leave the rates alone. Let affordability come back, right? Pending sales. How many people going into contract? 60,881. That's down 5.8%. That's the biggest decline in 11 months. We looked at that earlier. But look at new listings, 57,721. That's down 3.1%. That's the biggest decline of 2025. I mean, this is, again, the second week in a row that I've seen this, where pending sales are higher than new listings. I don't know. I don't make up this data. I don't work, I don't run the company. I just work here. And look at this. I don't work for Redfin. I'm just being funny. But I don't want you to think that. But pending sales, I mean, that means that there were more people buying or going into contract, even down 6%, than there were people actually listing homes. Who had that on their 2025 bingo card? I didn't at all. Active listings, 1,105,000. That's up only 4%. Smallest increase since January of 2024. The fact is that it's very possible that as we enter 2026, we could actually have fewer homes on the market than we did the previous year. What? Yeah, we could. Months of supply, 4.5 months of supply. That's up 0.3%. I'm sorry, up 0.3 points. Basically, that is the supply and demand equilibrium, right? So this means we have 4.5 months of supply if we didn't add any more listings to the market. They say that that's basically like a balanced market, essentially. And in many areas of the U.S., it kind of feels that way, right? A lot more homes on the market, fewer buyers, more balanced. Although prices a lot of times are still high and there aren't great homes on the market. Share of homes off the market in 2 weeks or less, 23%, that's down, or 23.7, that's down from 26. So there are still homes coming off the market in 2 weeks or less, but it's just becoming, that number's going down, down, down. Median days on market, 52 days, up 6 days. So it's taking 6 days longer to sell a home right now. Share of homes sold above list price, 21.6. That's down quite a bit, down from 24%. That's good news for affordability. That means that fewer people are paying over asking, basically. Fewer people are. Average sale to list price ratio, 98%. That's down from 98.4. There were some areas of the U.S. where during the worst months of affordability in the housing market during COVID, right? People were paying 105, 106, 107% of asking on average, by the way. Now 98.1. That's good. You need some affordability to return. All right. Where did median sale price go up the most? Detroit, no surprise. Pittsburgh, Nassau County, New York, 7.4% increase. San Fran and New Brunswick, New Jersey. Where did they go down the most? Where did prices go down the most? Dallas, Sacramento, Austin, Oakland, Seattle. They declined in 14 of the top 50 US metros. This has kind of been stuck all year at this number with Redfin. You basically have more, math is math. You have 36 metros where prices are up year over year. You've got 14 that are down. So when people say, hey, the housing market is crashing in most metros, it's like, no, it's not. But it is down in some metros. Pending sales. Where are they up the most? Where are people going into contract the most? West Palm Beach, Virginia Beach, Miami, Boston, Pittsburgh, and Phoenix. Where are people not buying homes as much as they were last year? San Jose, look at that. Pending sales down 35%. 35%. I mean, it's buyers are really only going to show up when the math works, right? They're only going to show up when the math works. And right now it ain't working for them in San Jose. Houston, down 21%. Oakland, down 17, 18%, if I'm rounding up. Tampa, down 17%. And Denver, down 16%. Yikes. People have shut off their buying box there. New listings. Where are new listings flooding the market? Boston, 5.3. San Diego, 5.2%. Philly, 5.1. Cleveland, 5%. San Fran, 4.7. Where are new listings down the most? You really need to pay attention to this one. This is bonker crazy. San Antonio. New listings down 21%. Tampa down 18%, Jacksonville down 14%, Fort Lauderdale down 13%, and West Palm Beach down 13%. It's completely flip-flopped. Like it's completely changed. The market has flipped on its, like done a 180, where we saw new listings earlier in the year and last year explode in the Sun Belt and drop in the Midwest and Northeast. Now we're seeing more new listings in the Northeast and Midwest, but not more new listings in the Sun Belt and Texas. And like, it's nuts. It's like all of a sudden sellers have vanished in these markets. These are not active listings. This is not delisted. A lot of people comment on the channel and say it's delisted inventory. People are, sellers are rage quitting. Sellers are not rage quitting when when new listings are down. That means people aren't actually putting their homes on the market to begin with. That's just a seller basically saying, I'm not going to sell. I don't have to sell. You have a lot of wish pricing, people that want to sell, but they don't need to sell. And there's a major, major difference between those two things, folks. All right, let's now we're going to look at this data real quick, these charts, and then I'll look at some comments. Then I'll go into the metros that you guys want me to look at individually. And if you have a metro, put it in the comments. You can put a zip code in there. I can go down to zip code level. I can look at a county level if you want. So I will do that here in a few minutes. And hit the like button if you join. That's the only price you have to pay. Oh, and comment too. Those two things. That's all I ask if you come on the live. I mean, I spend, I don't know, 2.5 hours prepping for this thing every week. So I'm spending a lot of time. So I deserve a like, right? Okay, new listings down 3%. We know that. Pending sales, we've looked at that. That's down 6%. We know that. We looked at active inventory, right? We already looked at that briefly. Active listings, right? Up only 4%. I mean, nearing where we were last year. I mean, the difference between last year and this year in active inventory is like, last year we had 1,061,000 right at this time. Right now we've got 1,105,000. So 45,000 approximately. Got about 45,000 more listings on the market nationwide. It's not a lot. It's just not a lot. I expected this number to keep going up during the year. I think many people did. But the simple fact is active inventory is falling and falling fast. Median asking price. Look at, or not median asking price. Median sale price. 388 grand. Yeah, has not fallen. The last 2 years, last year, it did not fall beneath the year before. And this year, it did not fall beneath 2024. So when someone says, prices are going to be down 9% this year or 5% last year, they were completely incorrect. Completely incorrect. Probably because they just didn't look at the data. They didn't look at the active inventory. It just is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Now let's look at something else here. Let's look at median days on market. How long are homes sitting on the market? I mean, that's up 6 days, right? And you can see that's a 4-year high right now for this time of year. It's a 4-year high. Let's look at, did I look at that already? Looked at new listings, this. Yep, those are all of them. Okay, let me get to the comments. Then we'll look at a metro or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, whatever we come up with. The more the better. The more the better. What do we got? And you can, by the way, if you have a real estate question or a housing market question, ask away. No subject is off limits. As long as you keep it clean. Maybe if prices improve. Yeah, prices could improve. They are coming down in a lot of areas, and they're not shooting up at a massive rate anymore. And even the areas they're growing, the biggest markets, the biggest growth we've seen is like Cleveland, like New York, Rochester, New York's up a lot. A lot of Midwestern and Northeastern areas are up. So prices could improve. Let's hope they do. If rates drop into the 5s, demand will soar. Yeah, YouTube boy, or YouTube. I'm calling YouTube boy. I don't know why. YouTube. Because you're right. I mean, it probably will. It probably will. Into the 5s. I think it's got to get lower than that. I think it may need to get into the low 5s. Although people see, psychology of a buyer, they see that 5. You're right, that may spur some demand. Monthly payments need to get low enough for one income to afford. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I'm not sure that's going to happen for the average home buyer in the US. I think those days are long gone. That's just my honest take. I think those days are long gone. I think it's very possible that it's not only a 2-income household that needs to buy a home for basically forever. That's going to be the way it rides. But I think it could be that you not only need 2 incomes, but you need a side gig. Like 2 incomes ain't going to do it. I mean, there may be some affordability gaps here and there. And if you budget right, you could, make it work. But for the average person, it may take 2 incomes and a side gig to buy a house. It could. I'm just being honest. Hey, Emily, you got a lot to say today. Good. Prices, prices, prices. Yeah, everybody says that, like on the channel, and I commend you all for that. But in the reality, that's not how consumers buy. It's just not. Buy now, pay later has almost no barrier to entry, whereas house buying is difficult right now. You're right. I guess my point with buy now, pay later is that shows what the consumer thinks, how the consumer thinks, right? Payment, 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 payment. Buyers buy based on payment. They do. It's the unfortunate fact. And that's why home prices are the way they are right now. I mean, if somebody had to pay cash for all their homes, home prices wouldn't be like this. But the fact that you can leverage your income over 30 years, that is the power of the 30-year mortgage. That's why prices have gone up. And by the way, that's why when interest rates drop, prices shoot up, because they can leverage their income for 30 years versus, paying cash. Like in Canada, there's nothing more annoying, as a side rant here, quickly. There's nothing more annoying than when somebody puts a housing analyst or an economist on their YouTube channel that's from Canada, and they don't make the distinction between Canada and the US. And they're talking about home prices and interest rates and mortgages. And you're watching the video going, but you're talking about 5-year terms, 7-year terms. Where's the 30-year mortgage? You're not talking about that. Oh, you're in Canada. Massive difference. Massive difference. 30-year mortgage, folks, here, 30-year fixed debt, that leverages your income. I think I voted flat or stagnant, but let's look at it. Gladwin, Michigan. Yeah. I'll take a look at that one, John Doe. Anybody else have a market they want me to look at? I'm happy to look at them. I voted slow bleed. Yep, we'll do that one. I hope demand is strong. I want to sell in 2026. Okay. Price your home right, and you should, right? You should sell it. Isn't the flip-flop due to people going down south for the winter? See, it could be. This is a very great question, Ches. It could be, although what I hear, just heard this a couple of days ago from somebody, another YouTuber said, because they don't, the YouTuber who I was listening to, Melody, said that people put their homes on the market in Florida in the winter. Winter is the time when everybody puts their home on the market. That's like the time to actually sell. She said that. But I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing people put their homes on the market, but it could be people, I guess, going from the north to the south during the winter. Maybe is the reason why new listings are down so much in Florida. I mean, look at this. I mean, to your point, look at this. Tampa, Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. All of these are down a ton in new listings. So if there was a lot of pain in Florida, I would see this number continue to go up. I would think it would be up a lot higher, but it's not. So I'm like, well, I wonder where all the distress is. Like, maybe we already saw it. Maybe those people already listed their house. I don't know. Josh Hall, what's up? 95610. You got it? I'll put that in the hopper. Caddo Parish. Okay, I'll do that one. Down in Louisiana, I assume. That's my assumption. I'm on the last 6 months of my lease, looking to start fishing. Okay, with some low ball offers. Oh, I see. Hoping to move in June, August. Any advice on getting a disrespectful offer accepted? Yeah, let's if you don't mind, let me get to that at the end, because I want to move to some of these metros. But I'll start, I'll come back to your question. And then you can, if you have to jump off the live, no problem. You can just come back and listen later. Sherry, how you doing? East County, San Diego. I was just out in San Diego. Lots of new listings. The rise in insurance, Lakeside, California, 92040. I will put that one down. We'll do that one. Thank you, Sherry. I love San Diego, by the way. I was just out there. I love Southern California. The weather there is unbelievable. Yeah, the multiple job holders hit 5.8%. Hasn't been that high since 1999. I think you're going to continue to see that. Like, the whole idea that there's going to be like a return of the way it used to be, and whatever that means for you, I don't think that's, I don't see that happening in the economy, and I don't see it happening in the housing market. Like, I think if there's enough pain to push prices down, then there's going to be enough pain where, like, people aren't buying or selling homes anyway. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like going to be so bad that everybody's going to be hurting. I just don't think we're going to return to a way of where, one earner is going to be able to support a household with a car, a home, vacations. That double earner side hustle life, I think, is going to continue. I mean, prices most prices seem like they're still up a lot, but that's just my take. All right, let's see. Crofton, Maryland. Any chance you can review rentals? Yeah, I can do that. I've got some rental data. Drummer guy. Love the drums. I play the drums myself. What kind of kit do you play? But Maryland, I like Maryland. Crofton, Maryland. Let's do it. I'm in Florida. I've noticed the last 2 months listings down, especially in Southwest Florida. I should probably do a collab video with that dude in Florida, Joe Brown, John Brown, something like that. He's a realtor. He blew up with some doom videos with Melody Wright. But he's like completely bearish on Florida. So I would love to do a video with him, because if what you're saying is true, I'd like to get his take on it. I'd love to get his take. Well, thanks for that. I will look at some other Florida metros here today. Back for the live stream to hear the insights. Appreciate you. Well, I appreciate you joining us, E.T. Blackbeard. All right. If you have a metro you want me to review or a zip code, drop in the comments and I will get to it. So let's do this first one. Gladwin, Michigan, 48624. I've got fresh data for you. Now, to do this, I am going to jump into Resi Club. I am going to use, this is not using Redfin data. If you want me to use Redfin data, put it in the comment and I'll use it. But I like this Zillow map and it uses realtor.com data as well. So it uses realtor.com data for inventory. It uses Zillow data for home prices. Now, a word on the data providers. I'm not going to tell you that they're all full of fraud. Am I going to tell you all this data is exactly correct? Absolutely not, because everything is very localized. This is a general look at your zip code or your market. But I will tell you that all the housing analysts pretty much use the same data out there. So whether you're Melody Wright using Redfin, and that's what she uses is Redfin, or Nick at Reventure Consulting that uses Zillow data, I have to use the data that's presented to us. So I'm not telling you this is gospel info, but it's the best info we have. So Gladwin, Michigan, let's look at it. Gladwin, Michigan, what do I got? 48624. See, with this data, I can go down to a zip code level. Down to a zip code level. So let's start with inventory, shall we? In that zip code in Gladwin, Michigan, inventory there is up just 1.4% year over year. You're only up 1.4% in inventory, the number of homes for sale. That's crazy. Let's look back since 2019. You're down 55% in the number of homes for sale. In Gladwin, Michigan, 48624. Let me just double check that zip code. Did I get that right? 48624. Yeah, I did. Wow. Wow. I can't believe you're down that much in inventory. That's crazy. All right, prices. What we got on prices? What? No data available, huh? What is going on? Let's find out. What's going on with Resi Club here? Sorry, guys. 48624. He hasn't filled in the zip code yet this month. I don't think so anyway. I just looked at this. Let me try one more time, and then I may have to use Redfin. Yeah, single family home price is here. County level, do we have that? Yeah, he's got the county level info. Does he have the metro level info? Yeah, he's got that. And the zip code level info? Wow. Okay. Well, my apologies, but Lance hasn't loaded in the latest zip code level data yet. I saw this get updated today, but he hasn't loaded that in. My apologies. All right, let's do let me do this. I don't know if I can look at this. Gladwin County. I could do that. I can do Gladwin County. All right, let's do the county. I apologize. Yeah, no zip code level data, I guess, yet. Let me, you know what? I hate to do this, but let me just email Lance and just tell him. Zip code level data. Maybe he'll update it here in a couple minutes. Oh, you're killing me, Lance. I got my live stream going. You're killing me on this. All right, but let's do Gladwin, Michigan, the county. Up 4.6% in prices. Apologize for the delay there, folks. All right, so you're up 4.6%. Typical price, let's see what that looks like. Typical home value in Gladwin County, $176,000. That is an all-time high. So you're at an all-time high home price in Gladwin County, Michigan right now. Jeez. Wow. Wowee. Doesn't look like prices are coming down there. Now, are you buying also there? It looks like you are. If you're buying there, John Doe, I think you are, right? And you said you want to sell in 2026? Well, if you want to sell in 2026, it looks like prices are in your favor. But if you're buying, it looks like inventory is definitely not in your favor because there aren't a lot of inventory out there. You actually, you're flat or a little down with inventory year over year, and you have a lot less homes for sale than you did in 2019. Let's look at price reductions. What are those doing in Gladwin County? 17% of all homes have had a price reduction in the county. Is that a lot? I mean, you know, last year you were at 21% of all homes had a price cut, but historically there's been 8%, 5%, 12% going back in time, right? So that's not an explosion of, I wouldn't think, of people cutting prices, but there are a few people cutting prices. There are a few. Let's look at new listings. New listings year over year. What are those doing? You're up 16% in new listings. Good. You need that. You need more new listings. Median days on market, 72 days. Wow. Homes are sitting a while there. But that's down. Actually, homes are selling quicker and faster than they did in 2024. So homes are actually moving quicker in Gladwin County. Let me go back and look at inventory again. Yeah, look at inventory count, 115 homes on the market. Last year, you had 134, so you lost inventory. And this is important for people to realize. If you hear someone say inventory is exploding across the country, we have a lot more homes for sale than we have had in years or something. It's like, well, it's all local. So in Gladwin County, Michigan, you have fewer homes on the market than you did last year. And go back in time and look, and this is what we're seeing through the Midwest. In 2016, you had 400 homes on the market. 400. Now, 115. There's not enough homes for sale. So if you're trying to buy a house out there, you're in the same situation as buyers are when they're trying to buy your house, which is sellers are probably in control still. Although this isn't 2021, so you still have to price your home right. All right. That was a long one. I apologize for how long that took. All right. You gave me a zip code. I will check and see if the zip code stuff's updated yet. Josh, I don't know if it is. You know what? Let me do this. Let me go here. Give me 1 minute. And I'm just going to log out and log back in. Maybe that'll help. Nope. Nope. It didn't help. It did not help. So you're going to need to give me a county, Josh. I apologize. Usually I can take zip codes, but the data is not showing. So you're going to have to give me a county or a city. And the city has to be probably, a decent sized city. So fail-safe is kind of the county at this point. Caddo Parish. Let me see if I can pull this one. Yeah, there we go. Is it this in Louisiana? Am I on the right spot here? This is a county. This is a county level, but hopefully this works for us. Let me just look here. Crazy. Yes. Okay. That'll work. All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that. Gotta love the lives. All right. Let's do Caddo Parish or Caddo County, I guess. In Louisiana, prices down 1.8% year over year, down 1.8%. Now they've been down this year. Like you can see, the price has been down, was down in July, August, September, down 1 point something. It was up last year, which is kind of interesting, and it was down in 2023. I mean, look at that price, these price changes. That's crazy. Like up, right, for a while during COVID, obviously. But then even during COVID, you had a time when prices fell. Wow. In fact, if I look at the typical home value there, this is not an all-time high like we saw back in Gladwin County, Michigan. 138,932. It looks like the peak was in where is this? Probably looks like the peak was like around here, maybe. Back in 2022, 141 grand was the peak of home prices for you, approximately. And now you're really close. I mean, 138,952. So you're right there, near record high prices, but off just a little bit. What about inventory? How's that doing? You're up 16.6% with homes for sale. So you have a little more homes for sale, a few more choices out there. Active inventory right now is 986 in the county. And you can see, if you go back just a couple years here, you can see how inventory was really low during COVID, right? I mean, there were months where you only had 276 homes for sale. Looks like a month where you had 346 homes for sale, but now you have a lot more choices. So a lot more choices are going to give you usually lower prices. If inventory rises, especially past historical levels, you'll have prices come down and you have more choices as a buyer. So as a buyer out there, if you're looking to buy something, you're like, oh, more homes to choose from, more competition with sellers. If you're a seller in this type of market where inventory is rising, you're going to have to price your home very, very competitively. And if you're demanding top dollar for your house, it better be in perfect condition. It better be in perfect condition. If I go back into 2017 or so, 2018, look how many homes you had for sale. Look at that. 1,353 back in November of 2017. That's a lot of inventory, right? Compared to now. People, I think a lot of folks out there get confused with the housing market and they're like, hey, look, nobody's buying houses. Nobody's buying houses. Well, when buyers pull back, that doesn't necessarily mean that the housing market is going to crash. The housing market crashes when sellers are forced to sell and inventory explodes rapidly. That's when the housing market will crash. And right now, overall in the US, we're not seeing a lot of forced selling. So are we seeing a lot of forced selling right now where you are? Maybe, but inventory is growing. So as long as that continues, prices should continue to come down and moderate at the worst case scenario, I would think. Now let's look compared to 2019. Here's the weird thing. Compared to 2019, you still have 15% fewer homes on the market. So even though inventory is growing, you're probably still not back to that level. Well, you're not back to pre-COVID levels. So I would say if you continue to see inventory rise there, if you see a lot of price reductions, people leaving their houses on the market and continuing to cut the price, and a lot of new listings, and you can track all that stuff yourself, then I would say that you probably see prices, continue to come down. All right, that's Caddo, Louisiana. Thanks for suggesting that. I don't look at Louisiana much, so that was good. Good exercise. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go to this one at the end. Yeah. Um, East County, San Diego. So I really want to do that zip code. I'm gonna save this one, Sherry. If you have to jump off the live, I understand, but I'm gonna save this one until the end of the live. I'm gonna check the data again to see if they put the zip codes in yet. I apologize again. They usually have them updated, but I guess they forgot to do that today. So I sent him a note. Hopefully he updates him. I'll be able to do that zip code. Because San Diego has so many little submarkets. Crofton, Maryland. Let's look at that. Crofton, Maryland. Is that what county is that? That is Arundel County. Is that how you say it? Arundel? Did I say that right? You're not going to tell me because I can't hear you, but I'm going to try it anyway. We're going to go there. Arundel. All right. I'm going to call it Ann County. That's what I'm going to call it for short. So prices. I'm going to do home prices first there. Then I'm going to do rentals. So prices in Ann County, Maryland, they're up 1.2% year over year. And notice they haven't come down year over year at all since 2012. So since 2012, home prices have continued to go up there in Ann County, Maryland. Let's look at the normal pricing or typical price. Well, I should explain this. I'm a housing nerd, so I get nerdy with this data sometimes, folks. It's just how I am. I'm not going to give you, I'm not just going to talk in general narratives about demographics and whatnot. I'm going to give you data. That's what you deserve. So you should know that how Zillow does this is they look at the 35th to 65th percentile of homes sold. That's how they do the typical value of a house. That's what this chart is. So they don't pay attention to homes that are super cheap. They also don't pay attention to homes that are super expensive. And I think this is actually probably not a bad way to look at the housing market, because a lot of people are like, oh, the expensive homes are skewing the median. Okay, well, let's use Zillow then, because they go 35th to 65th percentile. Problem solved. So homes there right now, is it an all-time high? It could be. Yeah. Yep. It's an all-time high price there for houses right now. Maybe that's why you're renting. I don't blame you. $507,873, a record high home price in Ann County, Maryland. Wow. Let me look at inventory. I will get to rent here in a minute. 1,126 homes on the market. That is more than you had last year. So you are growing inventory. But if I go back to COVID levels, pre-COVID, you had 1,973. 1,973 homes on the market. So now it's basically half the number of homes versus pre-COVID. Let me look at active inventory since 2019, down 42% since 2019 in inventory. Yikes. So just a lot fewer homes on the market. Just fewer homes on the market. Probably a better way to say that. Let's look at rent now. Not a lot of people ask me about rent, but we should. Typical rent. They're saying the rent there, the typical rent. Again, this is the 35th to 65th percentile range. So they're taking out rents that are super expensive and they're taking out dirt cheap rents. And they're just doing that middle range. Again, I think that is sometimes, a good way to look at things. $2,274 a month in rent. That's the typical rent. Now, if I go back and look, that's not an all-time high, but it's dang close. So rents last year were at $2,214. Now you're $2,274. So rents are up year over year there, but they have kind of moderated, I guess, in the growth. I don't know if it's, here, it's going to give me the growth in rent. They're up 2.7% right now, which is kind of normal. right? Like normal rent growth is like 2%. When I do an analysis for a rental property for my, for myself or a client, I use 2% rent growth. That's what I assume. 2% rent growth. So a 2.7% isn't unheard of. That's way better than what you had back here. Look at this rent. Back during COVID, rent was up like 11% year over year. Nearly 12% year over year. That's not normal. If you go back way before COVID, you could see rent growth was a lot more moderate, right? 2% here in 2018, 2% in 2017. So it looks like you're back to kind of normal rent growth. So I wouldn't expect rent to fall very much at all coming up, but I also wouldn't expect it to go up 10% based on what I'm seeing. Let me see if there's any other rent. I don't think I have any other rental info in here. Yeah, that's probably the data you want to see. Hopefully that helps. So rent not exploding, but still going up. Nobody ever asked me about rent, so thank you. I feel like they are now offering a lot of deals here recently, months for free, but same price. Yeah, see, that's a tactic, and it's not a unheard of tactic. You're going to see that more and more. I do that as a landlord. Instead of lowering the rent price, you just give them like a month free, right? And it helps you fill the unit, helps the tenant out a little bit. So that's normal. Incentives are normal in a market. I remember like when I got my very first apartment in Columbus, like way back when, right? I think I got like the first month free and I got like a free washer and dryer. And we were like, woo, score. And because we needed it. We needed that relief. So it was nice to have it. So yeah, you're going to continue to see that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you just think about it monthly. Meaning if you get $1,200 off your first month in rent, all right, well then take that $1,200 and think of it, for the whole year. And you're like, all right, well monthly, that's $100 a month. I just got off. And by the way, you're getting that up front. So you're able to take that money immediately and do something with it. Like if you wanted to invest it, right, in something. So that may be how to look at it. But yeah, you're going to continue to see incentives. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Because that's called marketing. And that's what they'll do to get people in there. All right, let me look at this one. Yes, about Southwest Florida. Let's look at Southwest Florida for a second. Because it's crazy with what's going on there. I say that a lot. It's crazy, but it is. It's crazy. Let's look at prices in Florida, Southwest Florida, by the way. Yeah, I mean, all this red is bad, right? So year over year, look at these markets that are down. Manatee County down 8%, Sarasota down 10%. These are prices. Lee County down 10%, Collier County down 7%, right? Monroe County down 5%. But what's weird is if we go to inventory, how's that trending? Yeah, look at this. Inventory in Monroe County up, and this is year over year inventory. In Monroe County, Southwest Florida, the heart of the crash, 0.2% more active homes on the market versus last year. That's it. Barely up, basically flat. Collier County has 8.8% more homes on the market, but it's not like 30% more. Lee County has 6.7% homes on the market. Charlotte County, 1.5% more. DeSoto County is down in inventory. Palm Beach County is down in inventory. Sarasota County is up 10% in inventory. Manatee County up 13.8% in inventory. Yeah, confused, right? I am anyway. If I look at new listings, let's look at that. Holy Toledo, look at these numbers. Monroe is actually up in Southwest Florida, up 10%. Collier County is down 8%. Lee County is flat. Charlotte County is down 17% in new listings. They have 18% fewer new listings in Charlotte County, Southwest Florida, than they did this time last year. Sarasota County down 6%. Manatee County down 5%. Hillsborough County down 11%. Pinellas County down 16%. I mean, I wonder what it is for the state. New listings in Florida are down 6.5% year over year. New listings in Florida are down, not up, down 6.5%. What about active inventory? How's that trending? That's got to be up a ton, only up 7%. Man, inventory's gone down there. It's probably going to show that. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. Look at the inventory fall this year. Goodness gracious. Now, you still have a lot more homes than you have had in the last 10 years there, though. Look at this, 163,000 homes in Florida. I mean, that's a 10-year high of homes on the market. Whew. Let's look at new listings count. 40,000 right now. Last year, you had 42,000 new listings. So you do have more new listings. I mean, if I go back in time, it's still not where we were back in 2019, 2018. That's the weird thing. 2017, you still have fewer people putting their homes on the market in Florida. It just tells me the buying demand is awful there. What are pending listings looking like? Let's look at pending listing count. Pending listings in Florida, 39,000 pending listings. Wow, they put as many homes on the market as they did people actually buying them. So it's like the equilibrium is like flat now. So it's not like a ton more sellers than buyers anymore. There were, right, at one point. At one point, they had a lot more sellers out there than buyers, but not anymore. Look at the buying back in 2021, 68,000, 66,000 back in 2020. Now, only 39,000. Huh. I wonder what prices are doing in Florida overall. I'm just curious about this. Okay, so in the state, prices are down 5% in all of Florida. Okay, that was an interesting exercise. All right, let's do the next one. Who else has one? Let's go to the list. All right, I did that. Yeah, the only way it changes is if the stock market declines. Okay. Currently, more households hold more equities than household asset. It's a great graph from Wells Bloomberg. I'll have to check that out. Thanks, Ches. I need to star that. I'll come back later and look at that. Drummer guy. Also, rumor mill is that Baltimore is estimated at a 30% delinquency rate, but I haven't been able to verify. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they are or not. You mean with like FHA or overall delinquency? Because the U.S. overall delinquency is like delinquency is like at 3.5%, I think, total delinquency in the housing market. FHA is much higher, but conventional is much lower. What's up, Chris? 43130. I can't look at zips, man. I wish I could, but they took these out, so I'm going to need your help. Let me try it again. Let me see if he's updated these yet. Oh, he did. Sweet. All right, I can do it. Nice. See what happens when you have a direct line into Lance Lambert and he comes through. Love it. 43130. Thanks, Lance. Not that you're listening, but thank you. I appreciate it. Let's do this one. I'll come back and do those other zip codes y'all asked for. 43130. What do we got? All right, let's do inventory year over year in 43130. Oh, I should have known. Lancaster, Ohio. All right. Inventory is up 10% there year over year. I am seeing more inventory in Fairfield County. So that would make sense to me. So you have more homes than you did last year. That's good. Active inventory since 2019, still down 11%. You're still down 11% if you think about how many homes you have now versus pre-pandemic. And if I look at the inventory count, you've got 101 homes on the market right now. Last year you had 92. During COVID, you bottomed out at 58. Back in 2016, you had 233 homes on the market. Let's look at median days on market. 38 days. Homes are selling in 38 days. Last year, they were selling in 40 days. So homes are actually moving quicker, probably because you have more homes on the market. But as you guys ask for these zip codes and markets, tell me what you're seeing. Like, give me your hunch. Like, hey, I'm seeing this, or I'm looking for a house and I've seen this. It helps us really understand what's happening. Let's look at prices in Lancaster, Ohio. Oh, it was just there. What in the world? I got fooled. I was fooled. No data available. I was looking at inventory. I got excited. I'm sorry. False alarm. Oh boy. Wish I would have checked this before I started the live. But 43130, I'll do Lancaster right here like this. I'm sorry. Sorry for the confusion. It's not going to give me that. I'm going to have to go. I'll do this. I'll do Fairfield County. So just to reiterate, if you want to see a market, you're going to have to put the county or the metro in, preferably the county. I still don't have that zip code pricing data yet. 1.4% prices in Fairfield County up year over year. 1.4%. So prices are still rising. They haven't fallen year over year at all in the county. They haven't fallen. I mean, prices were up 18% at one point in 2021. Look at that. That's off the hook. But now 1.4%. So I'm seeing that price growth slow. I'm not seeing as many, 13, 14, 15% double-digit price increases that we used to see. Let's do the typical value. Typical value. $359,000 is the typical value. Is that an all-time high? It looks like it may be. Yeah, it is. So you're at an all-time high record price for Fairfield County, Ohio. All-time high record price. Homes have not been. Oh, I'm sorry. I said 359, but it's actually 360. Yeah, all-time high record price. There's a lot of areas we've looked at today that have all-time high record prices. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, so that's what's going on with that. Fairfield County. Let's do the next one. Providence County, Rhode Island. I'd love to do Providence County, Rhode Island. Now, I heard this one's crashing. I heard it. Let's find out if it is. Let's find out. Oh, home price is up 1.9% there year over year. 1.9%. Now, that growth has slowed, right? You can see it like last year you were at 9% growth, 8% growth year over year. Now slowing down to 1.9%. I mean, it is probably horribly cold there right now, but that happens every year. That's nothing new. Let's look at, I'm curious to see what this says. This is how much you've gained in home value since 2022. Only going back to 2022. That is, you're up 17% in 3 years. But right now you're only up 1.2%. So year over year. So that growth is definitely slowing. Let's look at typical home value. $440,000. This is typical, and this is that middle range of homes, the 35th to 65th percentile. It takes out all the expensive homes and all the super cheap homes. 440 grand, is that an all-time high? It looks like it may be. Yes, it's an all-time high record price in Providence County, Rhode Island. I guess they're not crashing. Not, they forgot to crash, I suppose. Active inventory year over year. Where are you with inventory? You're up 12%, 13% with number of homes for sale. So a few more homes on the market. That's good. You're still 43% below 2019 with inventory. You have 43% fewer homes on the market. The Northeast is tough. That's a tough market. Active inventory count, 730. And now you do have more homes than you did last year. That's good. You definitely have more than you did during, 2023 and 2022. But you still don't have as many as you had in November of 2019. Before COVID hit, you had nearly 1,300 houses on the market for November. 1,300. And now 730. So, as inventory continues to grow, you may see prices flatten out, barely up like they are now, maybe down a couple percentage points. That wouldn't shock me either. But some cataclysmic housing change there isn't going to happen unless you find a lot more homes on the market. And I can't imagine them building a lot of starter homes in Providence, Rhode Island. It's got to be a tight market. It's got to be tough. Probably a lot of old homes, I'm guessing, and the new ones are probably insanely expensive. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what kind of the feeling I get from that, whatever I want to call it, the northeast market. Jeez. I wonder what rent is there. Let's look at rent. Just somebody brought up rent earlier, and I'm like, I wonder what rent is there. $2,029. That's an all-time high rent price too. You've got an all-time high price for houses. You have an all-time high price for rent in Providence, Rhode Island. Higher for longer, as they say. Reductions. How many people are cutting their home asking price? 12%, that's it. 12%. Last year was 16%. I mean, look at during COVID, you only had 7% of people cutting their home price. Only 7%. There's always people cutting their home price, so it's never like zero. But man, I mean, historically, you've been 18, 20, 16%, right? And now 12%. So this tells me there's people, most of the people who have listed don't need to sell. They just want to sell. They're not forced sellers. It's not distress selling. It's not motivated selling, turning into distress selling. It's people that have listed their home because they're like, yeah, I'm going to test the market. If it doesn't sell, no big deal. I'm not desperate. That's what I'm seeing from the data. Providence, Rhode Island. That's what's going on. But it's a beautiful area. Very, very, very nice. Don't sellers delist during the holidays, accounting for fewer listings? Yeah, I mean, it's common for sellers to delist during not list during the holidays and wait until the spring. However, so you're right about that. However, the data we're looking at is year over year. It's not like, comparing now to June. So in an area like, when we were looking at all those new listings and how new listings are down right now, 3% year over year, and new listings in Southwest Florida are completely collapsed, that's comparing last year at this time. So comparing winter to winter. And new listings are not people delisting. New listings are people just not even listing, period. They're not even putting their homes on the market. So we are comparing, year over year. So winter to winter, summer to summer. So if you see something down year over year, then it's down. It's not necessarily seasonality. I guess. But great question. What's going to happen in the spring when tens of thousands more homes get listed and there's still fewer buyers? Yeah, great question. I don't know. I don't know. If there are a lot more if there are a lot more homes listed that are good inventory homes and they're priced right. When I say good inventory, like they're not destroyed, they're not super expensive, right? They're just like average everyday properties that you could move into that aren't destroyed. You should see prices come down if buying demand doesn't ramp up at all. So if you have a flood of listings, you should definitely see prices come down. But we have to see if that happens, right? And is it possible demand comes back into the housing market? I don't know. There are a lot of people on the sidelines, according to the viewers on my channel. A lot of y'all are on the sidelines right now. So if there's a flood of new listings that hit, and what if interest rates drop? Play the what if game. Well, if interest rates drop meaningfully, would demand come running back in? Sure. Why wouldn't it? But yeah, inventory spiking, no demand, you're going to see a price drop. That's why Southwest Florida is down like it is in prices, because you saw a massive spike in inventory and prices came down, right? Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. No problem. Goodyear, Arizona. Okay. All right. Goodyear. Okay, I'm going to do Maricopa County if that's okay. Or I could do Phoenix, but I can't do that zip code. Is it? It's not a county, is it? Or is it? No. Now, normally, I have pricing data for zip codes, but right now, I don't, because that data hasn't been loaded in by Resi Club yet. It just changed today. They just gave me the fresh update. And I thought I had it for zip codes too, but I guess it hasn't loaded yet. So that's why I have to do the county, because that's where Goodyear is, right? I just want to make sure. I just want to double check. I don't want to give you the wrong one. It's a suburb in Arizona, right? Okay, got it. All right, so this is Maricopa County. Prices down 3.4% year over year, down 3.4%. And you've been down in Maricopa County for like the last, few months, right? Been down 2%, 3%, nearly 4% year over year in prices. Let's look at, I'm curious what the single family home price there is. Single family home price, $467,000. $467,000, not an all-time high at all. Like when you look back last year, your typical home value, according to Zillow, was what, $483,000, $444,000. Now you're at $467,000, and the peak, it looks like, was in 2022, where it was like $517,000. Right? Looks like you peaked about 517 back in 2022. So home prices have fallen in the last couple of years. They have. And it looks like they're continuing to fall. Let's look at active inventory. Active inventory, 41% up year over year. That's an increase. In an area like Phoenix, Maricopa County, that's a big increase of inventory. Active inventory count, 16,052 homes on the market. And that is higher. That's higher than you've had nearly going all the way back to 2017. If I go all the way back to 2017, you've had more homes on the market right now than you did all the way back then. So for those that are wondering, like, hey, why aren't prices coming down in my market? Well, you probably don't have an inventory trend like this. You probably don't. You probably have an inventory trend like we've been looking at most of the morning or most of the afternoon, which is fewer homes on the market, not more than 2019, right? So now in Phoenix and Maricopa County, there are more homes on the market, a lot more. I mean, look at pre-COVID. You had 11,000 homes for sale. That's it. And it was going down. That's the weird thing, right? Right before COVID, inventory in the US was falling. In many areas, it was falling for years before COVID. And then it really went to the gutter. Look at this. 5,234 homes on the market during COVID. That's why prices went insane. And then that inventory spiked big time in 2022. It dropped in 23. And then it continued to kind of just trend up. Now, 16,000 houses. Goodness gracious. Median days on market. What's that doing? Yeah, look at this. 60 days. Last year it was 54 days. So your homes are sitting on the market 6 days longer in that county. If I go back to COVID, they were moving in 33 days. And by the way, 60 days is longer than any other time in Maricopa County to sell a house in the last decade. Homes are sitting longer now than they have in the last decade. In fact, if I go back to this, this is always a good exercise. I'll come back to prices now, and I'm going to look back during the great financial crisis, during the worst housing crash we've seen, right? Prices in 2005, stick with me here. Prices in 2005-6 peaked in Maricopa County at, it's funny to look at this, 321 grand. That was their peak back then. And then they fell all the way down to a trough of $143,000. Homes in Phoenix were $143,000 at one point. But since then, they've gone up. They've gone up. Now, I would love to show you inventory during this period of time to show you how that affected it. Unfortunately, that data is not available. Lance Lambert can't even get that data. I asked him. When I did his interview, I was like, that's the first thing I asked him when I got on the call with him. I was like, I want inventory numbers for the great financial crisis. Not available from really anybody except individual MLSs. The point of this is prices will match inventory levels. So when inventory is super high, prices will come down like they did in the GFC. When inventory gets lower, prices go up like they did during COVID. And when inventory is higher, like it is now, prices come down. I would think prices are going to continue to come down in Phoenix. I think if inventory continues to rise. So that's what I'm seeing in Maricopa County. Well, thank you, Sherry. I enjoy you stopping by, and I really appreciate I appreciate you watching and taking the time and asking good questions. Thank you. Yep, that's how you say it. Oh, Ann Adrillo, Ann. I can't even say it now. Ann Arundel. I'm not even going to try again. Oh, good. Data feels right. Great. Good. I'm glad it does. Merced, California. I'm curious about this city. And as it was hit the hardest during the great financial crisis. Yeah, let's look. Merced, California. Okay, let me look at Merced. Merced, California. Okay, you want me to look at Merced County? Because that is a county, just south of Modesto. My guess is, and I haven't looked at this yet, my guess is it was demolished during the GFC. My guess is home prices were demolished. Because I think Modesto, which is just north of Merced, I believe, is I think that was the worst in the US as far as falling home prices. All right, let's start with year-over-year prices, down 2%, down 2% for Merced County. It's kind of been flirting with, well, you were up 5% in 2024. Then that number started to fall, and now you've been negative most of this year, right? Flat, maybe up 1%, but then you started to fall. So yeah, home prices look like they're softening. There's no doubt, down 2%, right? Right now. Let's look at typical home value. $413,000, not an all-time high. Looks like you hit that in last year. Was that last year? No. Back in 2022, you hit that. 425 grand, looks like, was approximately your all-time high a couple years ago. Now you've fallen and you continue to fall. Now you're $413,000. Now, what you wanted to know was during the great financial crisis, what happened? Yeah, look at this chart. Like, if you look at this chart and then look at an area like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, completely different look, completely different. You'll hear people talk about the great financial crisis and how prices crashed. Some people think, and it's not anybody's fault, but some people think erroneously that prices fell and crashed in every market through the US. Not true. There were actually markets that went up during the great financial crisis. Some didn't go down much. Some went down a ton. Like, look at Merced. Looks like they peaked right before the great financial crisis. $379,000 is where they peaked, around there. Then they dropped all the way down to a low of $115,000. So they went from 380 grand all the way down to $115,000 in Merced from 2006 through 2009. Wow. That's a crash. That's a cataclysmic crash. Oh, I wish I had inventory numbers for then. It bothers me every time I look at this stuff, but we don't. So, yeah, prices crashed big time there, completely wrecked. Then they kind of played around with, 120, 130 grand, and then started to go up in 2012, 13 on a steady pace, but then shot up fast, obviously, during COVID. They went from 312 in 2020 all the way to 424 in 2022. That's a big jump. But what you notice is it took a long time to get back to pre-GFC levels. You didn't hit that until 2020. Geez. So this entire stretch right here, you were down versus the great financial crisis for the typical home value in Merced County. Goodness gracious. I wish I could see the inventory then. You can kind of see it, I guess. Well, not really. It only goes back to 2016. That's the problem. The inventory. But this is your active inventory count now. 467 homes on the market. Last year you had 400. So you have more homes than last year. However, you still have fewer homes than you had before COVID. If I look at median day, let me look at active inventory versus 2019. Look at this. You're down 14% still. Probably why you're not completely, it's not a complete debacle crash, right? You're down a couple percentage points year over year. Why? Because inventory doesn't look like it's exploded, although it is up. But if I go back to 2018, you had 652 homes on the market back in 2018. So you're not even near that level yet, or not even at that level yet. You're getting there. I wonder what new listings are doing there. Let's look at new listings. New listing count, 228. how many did you have? Last year, you had 148 new listings for the month. So you're definitely adding more new listings. That's good if you want to lower prices. I would think prices are going to continue to soften, come down a couple percentage points. You know, if they're flat 1 month, wouldn't be shocked. If they're down 2, 3, 4%, wouldn't be shocked. If inventory continues to build and build and build all through 2026, then you could see much larger price declines. You could. But that price graph is nuts. That's a complete yo-yo. What's a typical rent? Oh, well, let's look at rent while we're here. $1,973 to rent the place there in Merced County. Last year it was $1,925. But let's look at that home price again, real quick. Home price. Yeah, look at this. Look how this roller coaster went, right? Way down, then up. Now it's kind of starting to go back down again. That's a very volatile market. I'm sure you know that. Anyway, thanks for asking about Merced County, California. Seasonal. Same with sellers, all seasonal. Expect another 2025 and 2026. Oh, you mean home prices up again? Is that what you're saying? Home prices are up again, according to Locked Up Larry in 2026. Could be. They could, right? Just like, low growth, still up, right? Well, it's not seasonal if you look year over year. Like if I go, hey, how's this winter doing compared to last winter? I'm not saying winter compared to summer. I'm saying winter compared to winter, November compared to November. I think seasonality is taken out of the equation when you do year over year. Just a guess. But I appreciate you joining Locked Up Larry. So Locked Up Larry's call is same as 2025. We're going to have a 2026 prices up just slightly. And you think inventory is barely going to grow year over year next year? Okay. I think we're going to have a lot more inventory than that. I think we will see a decent inventory growth. I listen a lot of real estate themed YouTube. You were the first person to point out that Zillow normalized the data by only using 31 to 71%. Thanks, nerd. Good data. Oh, you're welcome. Look, people have this idea that I care if the data does this or the data does that. I don't care. Literally, I have no skin in the game for that. I'm here to give you the data, to show you what it means, to do the work for you, to help you understand the housing market better. That's my job, and a lot of that is the job of a realtor too. It's not to try to convince you to buy. I'm not you. I have no idea if you should buy or not. And if the market crashes or goes up or doesn't do anything, sun will rise tomorrow and I'll do the same thing. It has no bearing on me. But I really appreciate you recognizing that I pointed out the way Zillow does things. My house took 9 months to sell. I feel lucky it finally sold. Where's that? Tell us where it is. Oh, you got it right here in Clearwater, Florida. I'm glad you got it sold. Yeah, I bet you saw a lot of homes sit on the market. 9 months on the market. Wow, 9 months. Yeah, let's look at Clearwater. Do I have that? Clear. That's Sear. Clear. I should have it. Well, I got Tampa, St. Pete. We kind of already looked at this, didn't we? Yeah, we already looked at this down in Southwest Florida. I was just going to look at days on market. Median days on market in Clearwater. Yeah, look at this. I mean, this data is matching today, based on what y'all are telling me. 78 days is the median days on market. Median is in the middle, right? So if you have 100 homes that sell, number 50 is what they say for the median. So that one in the middle took 78 days to sell. So the fact that it took you 90 days or 9 months, I guess I'm thinking 90 days. No. It took you a lot longer. My bad. Not my fault. It took a lot longer. 9 months. I'm glad you got it sold. I'm glad you got it sold. Probably a lot of inventory down there still, I imagine, walking around. Too many otherwise unskilled people in real estate biz learn a skill and participate in society. The sheer amount of the LLC wannabes driving up costs is insane. The LLC wannabes. They want to be LLCs? I don't follow. Too many otherwise unskilled people in real estate biz learn a skill and participate in society. I guess you guys aren't part of society because that's who I'm participating with today. Merced, California just did that. That was great. Great experiment. Clearwater, Florida, the Brian Tucker. Yeah, we looked at that a little while ago. So that was pretty eye-opening. Supply down 11%, demand down 60%. You think supply will be down 11% next year? Man, I hope not. And you're saying, so that means prices won't move. Probably, just like we got this year. I hope supply isn't down 11%. We're in trouble if it is. I mean, even with demand down 60%, you think supply is going to be down 11%? This is an atypical one, but DC, man, I wish I could do zip codes. Let me see if he's got them in yet. Let me just see if he does. Let's see. Nope, he doesn't have them. Dang it. Dang it. So I'm going to have to use Washington, D.C., man. Let me look at what county that's in, like where that zip code is. 20010. 20010 county. Oh, it's in Washington, D.C. Okay, my bad. I didn't know if it was like outside or not in a different county. All right, so let me just do Washington, D.C. All right, let's do Washington, D.C. You're at 0% growth right now in home prices, flat in home prices in D.C. And let's look at in typical price, typical single family value. 610,000. Man, it's expensive there. Is that an all-time high? No, it's not an all-time high. Back in March of 2025, earlier this year, you were at 614, 613, 612. So you're off the all-time high. Now you're at 610. Not a crash by any means, but you've definitely come down. Although home prices always come down, usually on a typical year, they always come down in the winter. But year over year, you are flat, it looked like. Let's look at inventory. How you doing with homes for sale? Up 32%. So you have 32% more homes than last year. That's good growth. You're down basically flat in inventory versus 2019. Basically, that means, hey, I have about the same number of homes that I had before COVID. That's how you look at that. But this is the metro area: Washington, Arlington, Alexandria. That's how they look at that. So this isn't definitely not in your specific zip code. But if you come back next week to the live, hopefully by then, I'm sure I will, I'll have a zip code level look for you. Homes on the market, 13,300. 13,300. And last year you had 10,000. So you definitely have more houses. And the price growth is reflecting that. You're getting closer to that 2019 level of inventory. Generally speaking, where we're seeing that change of home prices is where they get closer to that 2019 level. As you get closer to that level, the price growth slows. And then that's what we're seeing there, it looks like. And again, this is very general and broad for that market. So you definitely have to go very, very localized to really find out what's happening. Median days on market, how's that doing? 45. Last year was 40. So homes are sitting longer. 5 more days on the market. Well, price reductions, how's that doing there? 17%. I mean, that's not like extraordinarily high. It's about normal for the US, and it looks like it's about normal for your market. I mean, before COVID, you had 17%, 18% of all people cutting their home price. What about the rent? What's that in DC? That's come down a little bit. $2,356. It looks like rent peaked in June of this year at $2,404. And this is this is the 35th to 65th percentile. So this is the median range. It's the middle range of rent. It's not the most expensive rent. It's not the lowest rent either. I would think rent would be more expensive there, but this is the middle range, $2,356. In some markets, I'll have this data, which is, this is actually the single family home rent, which is $3,090. You want to know why investors like single family homes? You want to know why they'll continue to buy single family homes? This is why. Because the rent there on a single family home is $3,000. And then I have the multifamily rent, which is $2,239. So rent is much more expensive with single family homes. That's why investors like single family homes. And people like to live in single family homes. So tenants usually stay longer. All right. So that is Washington, D.C. The 411 on the D.C. Oh, I'm very cool when I'm live. Okay, sweet. No, I appreciate it. All the nice words. They keep me going, no doubt. What else we got? Off-market inventory is unknown statistic that in some markets are huge. That's true. That is true. I've bought properties off-market. I've sold properties off-market. However, and this is the part that I just want to caution you on when you listen to the narrative that there's a bunch of shadow inventory that's being transacted. And if we counted all that, things would be much worse type attitude. I'm not saying you're saying that, but I just want to caution you on what you may hear out there. There's always properties sold off market. Always. However, if you're a seller that needs to sell, if you're like, I got to sell. If I don't sell, I'm not going to eat next month. Like GFC levels of stress. You're not going to sell your home off market. In fact, I really can't think of except maybe one or two times when I've met with a homeowner who wants to sell a home and we're talking about listing their property and they're like, you know what? Don't advertise it because I don't want too many people to know about it. It happens on luxury homes sometimes and on very specialized homes, or if somebody doesn't want anybody to know they're moving or selling, that happens. Or maybe sometimes they're embarrassed by their house because maybe it's torn up and they're like, I don't want to list this thing and have people coming over here. So they sell it off market. But if somebody has to sell, needs to sell, they are going to list that thing everywhere. They're going to put it on Zillow, Realtor.com, the MLS. They're going to drop flyers from airplanes. They're going to have a guy right in the sky with a biplane, home for sale. Here's my address. Like they're going to do everything they can to sell that house if they need to sell. So when I hear people say, I'm not saying you're saying this, but when I hear people say off-market inventory is much higher and therefore that's what's going to cause our problems, my response is, well, if people really need to sell, they're not going to keep it off-market. They're going to list it. That is a distressed sale. A distressed sale is not somebody who's like, well, if I sell, I sell. If I don't, I don't. So there are off-market deals. They happen all the time. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's part of the game, right? Let's see. I'll show you one. I just got this today. These are all the current off-market deals. that I get sent. Like every day, this is updated. And this is a local wholesaler in Columbus. And these are all off market. Right now, they've got what? One, two, they got one in Granville. Look at that. Look at that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in Central Ohio. This particular wholesaler has 6 off market deals. Right. And they show you the pictures, right? Which is pretty cool. So if you're looking for an off market deal, by the way, Google wholesalers and wherever you live. And then look up real estate meetups wherever you live, like Columbus, Ohio, real estate meetups or real estate meetings or whatever. And you will find people, if you start networking with them, you'll find people like this that send you deals every day. And these are all off market. So like this one here is off market and they give you the pictures, right? So here are the pictures of the home. Can y'all see that? Yeah, you can see it. Good. So this is an example of what an off-market deal looks like, right? I mean, there's a ton of work, right? These are normally cash deals typically, although it's easy to find a private lender for all this. Easy to do it. Not bank financing. You maybe use bank financing depending on the wholesaler. You got to be really careful with this stuff. You got to know what you're doing. You got to do some research. Definitely got to talk to an attorney or a real estate professional in your area to understand the ins and outs of buying something off market. But I guess my point is that off market deals happen constantly. They always have. They probably always will. I mean, the porch is in bad shape, but I wonder what the house looks like. Let's find out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff inside, but that ain't no big deal. You just get rid of that stuff. It could be a nice little house for somebody. There's a basement, right? Let's look and see. What were they asking for this thing? Whoops. How do I go back there? Oh, yeah. I can go ahead and show this to you. Maybe I can't. I can't share. For some reason, I can't say that. I can't. Oh, yeah, I can. Yeah. So they were asking $199,000 for this home. 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 1,800 square feet. They have a walkthrough that they'll schedule so you can actually walk through the property. So it's not like a normal listed property, right? 5-car garage. Cool. This one's in Granville, the town I live in, $424,900. Now, this particular person didn't want to list their house with a realtor for some reason. Why? I don't know, but they didn't. So a wholesaler has it. Wow, it's on 1.5 acres too. Interesting. Anyway, that's how it's done. That's how off-market deals are done. They're done like that, a lot of times. Just how it is. All right, what else we got? But great question on off-market stuff. Is off-market inventory pocket listings? It could be pocket listings. That's a great question, right? So sometimes a realtor can list a property and have it only in-house, meaning they can't advertise it at all. They can only basically make phone calls essentially to other brokers and say, hey, I have this listing. I haven't advertised it. So the MLS is very strict about that. If I actually list the property and I advertise it at all, I put it on an email blast, I put it online on, Zillow or whatever I put it, or the MLS, then it goes, everybody has to see it. I can't just put it on one website. They're very strict. I guess the point of, in essence, what I'm saying is that there are pocket listings out there, but if somebody needs to sell, they're not doing a pocket listing. They're listing it everywhere. Zillow, MLS, Redfin, Realtor.com, everywhere. Off-market inventory is not listed on the MLS. That's true. It's not. Most buyers become sellers. That's true. It's like, well, I don't know what the ratio is from buyers to sellers. I know from sellers to buyers, I think the ratio is like 80%. So 80% of people selling a home buy a home. Hence why, if all of a sudden there's a bunch of people out there that are selling, they're probably buying something. I'm considering going that route for winter months and only listing if need to in the spring. You mean off market? Is that what you're saying? You could go off market. You can stick it on Zillow yourself as a for sale by owner. You could easily do that and not have an agent involved at all. But I'll warn you, testing the market is a bad idea unless you really want it, unless you were serious about selling, especially if you test the market at a high price. Anybody who tells you there's no harm in listing your home is incorrect, because once somebody knows that it's been listed at all, and if it's on Zillow, it's going to be easy to find, then they're going to know where you listed the property. And if you listed it even higher next time, or it doesn't sell when you test the market at a high price, that just makes your listing look stale. So when you're ready to list your home, be ready and then move forward in a strategic way, right? If you're just kind of dipping your toe in the water to test the market, it may backfire. Any property not listed is off-market inventory if it's for sale. True. That's true. Any property not listed is off-market. That's true. If it's for sale, right? Yeah, like a for sale by owner, that's kind of off-market. Yep, those exist. Demand down 90%. Next year, you think demand's going to be down 90%? Is that what you're saying? Goodness gracious. So it's down 6% right now. So you think it'll be down 90%? I assume a realtor can offer my house to their buyers in the same price range they are shopping anyway. I assume. Yes. The pool of buyers is just going to be small, right? Even if they're a big brokerage, it's going to be small. If it's a pocket listing, it's going to be very small. 92126, San Diego. Oh boy, I wish I could do these zip codes. I'm just going to do San Diego County, I guess, because I don't have these zip codes. I'm sorry. So I can do San Diego County for now, and then next week I'll do San Diego. I'll do these zip codes when I have access to the data. It's just missing right now. I'll do Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. That's Charlotte, right? Love to do Charlotte. Josh Hall wants to see Sacktown. How much time do I have? I've been rambling, babbling for a while, almost 2 hours. Everyone I know who flips houses here in Florida have houses they can't sell. Yeah. Flipping right now is not easy. Is not easy at all. You really got to know what you're doing to flip a home right now. I'm not saying it's impossible, because I've helped some people sell flips recently. I haven't bought a flip in, it's been a year or so since I bought a flip. So it's not easy right now. You gotta build a ton of cushion in. You really got to buy it right. You'll make money in real estate when you buy, not when you sell. Because if you don't buy it at the right price, you will lose, and lose bad. So that's what's happening in Florida, I imagine. A lot of those are probably investor flips, I bet. Not surprised. Do you know first-time buyer programs that require you to stay in the home for 3 years? I have a true neighbor from hell who thought he would get rich by buying a fixer and flipping. Yeah, so the rule that I know of, maybe what you're referring to, is a great question, is if you're an FHA buyer and if you buy a home and try to flip it, and you have had it for less than 3 months before you actually try to sell it. So if you buy it in January and you're trying to sell it in February after you fixed it up, if an FHA buyer tries to buy that property, then they have to, I don't think they're allowed to buy it as an FHA buyer. If it's between 3 and 6 months, is it 3 and 6 months? Let me look at this real quick. I think it's 3 and 6 months. Give me a second. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So if it's up to 90 days, that's what it is. If it's between 0 and 90 days that an FHA buyer is trying to buy that flipped home, but it has only been owned by that current owner for less than 90 days, FHA won't allow the FHA buyer to actually purchase it. And that's a problem because a lot of times good flips, in my head, are where you can sell to an FHA buyer, because flipping below the median home price not only gives the market something it needs, which is an affordable house, but it's also the easiest to sell. And you're not stuck with a mega house that, you put a ton of money into. So it's good to sell to FHA buyers on a flip, but the house has to be owned 90 days or more to actually sell it to an FHA buyer. If it's between 90 and 180 days that the person owns the house and they're trying to sell it to an FHA buyer on a flip, then they have to have 2 appraisals. FHA requires 2 appraisals. So it's not really on the, it's kind of more if the person buys the house and tries to sell it to an FHA buyer, not really FHA rule on flipping. Like as a, although there could be some rules, I guess, around buying it as an FHA buyer and unloading it quickly, if that's what you're talking about. I probably didn't answer that well. You're probably really confused. Oh, I see. He bought it in January 23. I mean, if he bought it in January 23, as far as I know, he could sell it to an FHA buyer. I don't think there's an issue with that. No, that was probably not very helpful. I probably butchered that. My contact information is in my description, Sherry. So if you want to, feel free to reach out to me and I can see if I can give you more detailed info. And then you could always call a local lender too, if you have a question on that, which is a valid question. Because lenders know more about that FHA rule, I would think. Let's see. Somebody wants Sacramento. I'm going to do that one. Let's do Sacramento. Then I'll do a couple others and wrap up. Sacramento. Let's do it. What do I got? Sacramento home prices down 3% year over year. Prices are falling there. Typical single family home value. The typical value. And typical is the 35th to 65th percentile. Just that middle range of homes. It's not the most expensive and it's not the cheapest. That's how they're looking at this. $528,200. That's not an all-time high by far. I mean, you were at 240, or I'm sorry, 572. Yeah, back in 2022. So you've come down quite a bit. How many homes do you have on the market? You've got 2,169. Last year, you had 1,958. So you definitely have more homes than you had this time last year. Median days on market, 52. Last year, 45. Homes are taking longer to sell. So I see more inventory. I see lower prices. I see longer times on market. All of that points to probably continued lower prices, I would think. Let's look at 2019 compared to now. You're up 1.1% in inventory compared to 2019. So you have more homes, very small amount more, but you do have more homes than you had in 2019. So that's good. You're adding inventory. If you're a buyer, if you're a seller, definitely have to price it right. Definitely. And expect it to sit longer. Even if you price it right, it could sit longer. Let's look at rent there. I'm just curious. You know what? Let's look at new listings real quick. 964 new listings. Last year you had 1,000 new listings. Okay. So maybe you could start losing inventory at some point over the next year, few months, maybe, if fewer people list their homes. It's possible, but it's not a huge drop in new listings. Price reduction. How many people are cutting prices? 18%. Not a ton, actually. Look at November of 2022. 27, nearly 28% of all listings had a price cut in November of 2022. Now you've got 16%. So a lot of the price damage could have already been done. You know, you may want to review that video I did with Lance Lambert because, and it just came out earlier this week, and he talks about this where in 2022, right around here, right, home prices fell in a lot of areas, and now they almost have like a smaller risk of further massive decline because the pain has already been dealt out. Like the pain has already been in place. And so now maybe the prices stabilize somewhat. I don't know. Could be. His theory is that happened because of inventory. If I look at active inventory, you could see how it quickly ramped up right here, right? Active homes for sale ramped up right in 2022. And then you saw prices go, woo, down quick. But if you continue to add homes on the market and buying demand stays on the sideline, yeah, you could definitely have more pain in the housing market there. More price decline, no doubt. No doubt. If you're selling, plan on it sitting a while, price it right, don't be greedy at all. And if you're buying, probably some good opportunities out there to make a lower offer, especially during this winter. I mean, winter is a great time to make an offer on a house because nobody's out there looking. I'd rather shop when there's no competition versus when there's a ton of competition. Let's see. Hamilton County, Tennessee. Okay, I'll do that one. Somebody wanted to see, I got Mecklenburg, I got San Diego. All right, let me do San Diego County because I promised I would do San Diego, but because does this include? Oh, you know what? You may be in. Let me see. Let me look. Escondido. Oh, is it? Okay, it is in San Diego County. I didn't know if Escondido was in Imperial County or not. Okay, it's in Escondido. Or it's in, I'm sorry, San Diego County. So let me just do, I'm going to do the county right now, and then I will do the zip codes next week for you. Just jump back on next week, probably on Thursday again. All right. Prices in San Diego County, down 2.5%. They've been down this year. They've been down this year. Let's see. Single family value. Wow. Homes are expensive there. $977,000, not an all-time high. Typical home value peaked at $1 million, right over $1 million in San Diego County. But this is all of San Diego County, not just Escondido. But now you're at 977. So their, prices have come down there. Good. Probably a healthier market if they continue to come down. Up 12% in inventory year over year. And since 2019, you're down 11% still. So I don't think prices will crash there in San Diego County, but it doesn't look like they're skyrocketing either. And it doesn't look like, it looks like kind of they're just kind of dead. They're like sideways. Median days on the market. What is that? 48 days. Last year, 46 days. So homes are sitting just a little longer than last year, but not a ton. Not sitting forever. It's not like 100 days or something. Look at active inventory count, though. Go back to 2018. You had 7,800 homes on the market. 2019, you had 5,600 homes. So definitely adding inventory. Just need probably more to cause some type of huge price crash. I wonder what prices did, just for my own curiosity. I wonder what prices did during the GFC there. Where can I find this? Yeah, let's look. While they peaked before the GFC at 559 in San Diego County, dropped all the way down to 373, 376 in 2009, and then shot back, and then they basically went sideways. Oh no, they went all the way down to 353 in 2011. That's when it bottomed. And then it went up quickly, obviously. And then went up like super fast during COVID. And now they're kind of maybe leveling off in the high nines, 977. Man, homes are expensive. Homes are expensive there. All right, that's that. I did Sacramento. I'm going to do Mecklenburg County next. And this is basically Charlotte, right? Mecklenburg County. Let's see what's going on in Mecklenburg. Price is down 0.9%. Down 1% this year in August, down 1% in September, down 1% in October, now down 0.9% in November. What's the typical home price there? Typical home price, $426,609. Is that an all-time high? I don't think it is. Probably not. 430 grand was like your all-time high last year, about this time last year, actually. And now it's kind of come down a couple percentage points, 426,609. Not a crash, but not an all-time high anymore. Let's look at inventory. How's that doing? You're up 33% in the number of homes for sales. That's a good amount compared to a lot of other markets we looked at today, especially given how big that market is. You're up compared to 2019. You've got 18, nearly 20% more homes on the market. That means you'll probably see further price decline, I would think. 3,635 houses for sale. Yeah. I mean, you have more homes on the market than you've had in the last decade. I go all the way back to 2016, and there aren't this many homes on the market. So you definitely should see continued price decline, I would think. I mean, it's not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. I don't have a crystal ball. But if you look at this data and you go, well, what could happen? Well, based on the actual data trend, yeah, definitely could see prices continue to soften. And as more people buy a home that's less expensive than the all-time high record price, as more people do that, more comps will come in line with that. And as then people list their house, they'll look at the comps and go, oh, this person sold at 370. This person sold at 369. That person sold at 365. I better price mine at 364. That's how prices come down, right? It's just called price discovery. That's all it is. And we need that. To do that, you got to have more inventory and you got to have more demand for people actually buying. It's kind of a weird thing. Like the stuck market we've been in keeps prices high because there's no price discovery. Because nobody's buying. But with more inventory out there, more people buying, you'll probably see prices come down. And it looks like you are. That's what's happening in Mecklenburg, North Carolina. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Am I forgetting anybody? Let me go back and look. Hey, Michael, appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it. Yep, John, got to go. No worries. Rockingham County. Epping is the town. I'll do this last county, and then I got to go. Rockingham County, New Hampshire. 2.6% up in prices. Your home prices are up 2.6% year over year. That's not seasonality. That's up year over year, comparing the same time this year, the same time last year. Total single family or typical single family home value, $632,000. While it's expensive there, it's an all-time high price. You're at an all-time high record home price in Rockingham County, New Hampshire. You can tell I'm getting tired. Active inventory count. What do we got? 669 homes on the market. Pre-COVID, you had 981 in 2019. So you definitely have a deficit in inventory for sale compared to COVID. Median days on market, 51. So you got 51 days. Last year was 50 days. Homes are taking about the same amount of time to sell. What about new listings? Curious there. New listings only up 6.8%. Not a lot of people putting their home on the market. Yeah, you got 316 new listings. Last year you had 396 new listings. I'll look at pending listings real quick. 525. So there are more people buying homes there than selling in Rockingham County, North. I said it again. Rockingham County, New Hampshire. I don't want to say North. It's not. Yeah, so you have more people buying than selling there, right? Because you had 525 go into contract, and how many new listings? Only 316. That's not what you want to see. You want to see the opposite if you want lower prices. If you want higher prices, this is what you want to see. And you have a record high home price, which is not surprising. You just got to have more inventory to see a price change, a significant price change. All right. Let's see if there's anything else. There was one other thing. This question this guy asked, innovative, sustainable solutions. I said I would get to it at the end. So to close this out, let me answer this question. Looking to start fishing with some lowball offers, hoping to move in June and August. Any advice on getting a disrespectful offer accepted? Yeah, so you want to make it, that's a great question. To me, the best way to do it is to give them options. So don't just give them an option and say, here is your disrespectful offer, take it or leave it. Give them options and make it as easy as possible on the seller from a non-price end. So if you're going to go in with a super low price, it's not a bad idea to tell them that, hey, like let's pretend you walk the house that I showed earlier where there was all kinds of stuff scattered everywhere. Pretend you're making an offer on that home. Make an offer on the home and tell them, I'm not saying buy it as is. Do an inspection. Definitely do an inspection on the houses you're going to buy. Don't ever skip an inspection. But once you do the inspection, tell them, if there's any junk you have left over, I'll take care of it. That makes it easy on them, right? Make it easy on them. Hey, if you have a basement full of stuff you don't want anymore, a garage full of junk toys or junk cars, maybe cars in the yard, I'll take care of all that for you. You just leave it. Let me deal with it. Because usually in real estate contracts, it means all the personal property is gone from the property before you take possession. And some people don't want to do that. So it's a huge relief to them to know that they don't have to do anything. Also, you may want to buy it as is, still do an inspection, but let's say there's a bad heating system or a bad, maybe some bad windows, or there's something else going on in the house. Know what you're doing before you make that offer, but not a bad idea to tell them, I'm not asking for any repairs. I'm not going to ask for repairs. Like, I've done my inspection. Nothing cataclysmic is wrong. I'm going to move forward and buy it as is. I don't expect you to make one repair, but here's my price, right? So I encourage, if you're going to make a low offer, make it as easy as possible on the other person, on the actual seller. And the other thing to do is to give them options. So you could say something like, I'm just making this up. You could say, hey, I will give you this price, but it's cash. And it's low, really low. Or I'll give you this price and it's with bank financing. And maybe it's actually higher because you're not having to use your cash, right? So I would encourage you to do research on making offers. You could just research that on YouTube and probably find a ton of like courses and things on how to make offers. But you want to prepare yourself to make a lot of offers. Don't get tied down to one particular house. Know exactly your max offer price when you go into an offer. Know exactly how much you're willing to offer max. What's your optimal offer? Like, hey, in reality, I want to pay this. The most I'll pay is this, and I'm not going above this. Lock that in and don't deviate from your plan. And prepare to make a lot of offers. And if you're not going to use an agent, fine. But if you do use an agent, just make sure you're transparent with them and tell them, hey, we're going to make a lot of offers. We're going to see a lot of homes. I may not even buy something. I may not find anything that makes sense, but this is what I'm going to do. And then go out and and stay after it, and then follow up. If you make an offer and it's not accepted, follow up with the seller maybe 2 weeks later, maybe a month later, especially if it's still listed. I would look at off-market deals. I would look at expired listings that are no longer active, that have been removed from the market. I would just drive neighborhoods and look for houses that are messed up. And then maybe not even messed up, maybe they're just abandoned. And then I would send them this letter. See this letter? You can kind of see it. That's called a yellow letter. And I send those out to sellers or homeowners, maybe not even have their house listed. If they're just a homeowner and I drive by a house, I'm like, that one looks vacant. It's in the area I want to buy in. Then I send them a letter that says, hey, this is who I am. I'm interested in buying your home. Call me or text me. You'd be shocked how many people reply to that, especially if you're going to live in the house and not an investor or not a realtor. Because as a realtor, I have to put on there on the letter, I'm a realtor. I have to disclose that. And that's a disadvantage, I think. But I have to do it. It's a law. So you should, you can write those letters. It's it's not easy work, but it is simple. And if you do it and do it enough, you'll find an off-market deal. So I would look everywhere, like MLS listings, expired listings, for sale by owners, wholesalers, drive the streets and send letters. And then just be prepared to make a lot of offers. Be patient, know exactly what you want, the exact price. Don't deviate, and just work your plan. That's how I would do it. But you should definitely get advice from a local realtor too. Anyway. See if there's anything else. Then I'll end this. Oh, Spawn, you're welcome. Nana, TG7TG, you are welcome. With that, I'm the Housing Nerd, and I am out. OUT. We'll see you next week.